Hello, my friend, and welcome to the 396th episode of the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Took me 3 times to say that. I kept saying 296. I don't know. Maybe I can't believe I'm approaching 400 episodes in just over 6 years. But like all of them, this is a good one. We got Rob and Kennedy, some cool dudes from the UK. I've been using their product, and I've been using something similar for many, many years. It's been my top lead generator for years. And so these guys have an enhanced or a better version of what I was doing. We're going to talk about that to see how you can leverage this type of technology to get better leads, to get more leads, to get better leads, to segment them so you can deliver relevant content at the moment of relevance, which is the name of the game. Okay? Our past episode, Brian Kurtz, great dude. Direct mail marketer, super experienced, new author of Over Deliver. He's written a couple of books, but I was kind of embarrassed that I didn't know the guy because he's a freaking legend. The more I looked into him and the work he has done over decades, so it was great to catch up with him. Mandy Martin is coming up next. We're getting into artificial intelligence. So, got some cool things happening here. I've got a sponsor as well. So, my second formal sponsor this year. So, things are looking up at the Sales Podcast. So, take a listen to what these guys are up to. It's just 30 seconds, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what's happening here at the Sales Whisperer. What does insight-driven messaging look like for sales? Like a whole lot more deals, fast. Jump on high-intent leads in the moment with Intercom, the business messenger that extends the reach of your team 24/7. Intercom creates more opportunities for you by booking meetings and collecting data from leads automatically. Take Intercom user Elegant Themes. They now convert 25% of leads through Intercom's messenger. Deals don't wait. Get them with Intercom. Go to intercom.com/deals. That's intercom.com/deals. You know, it's interesting. I just had Matt Barnett on the CRM Sushi podcast. I'll be publishing that this week as well. And he demoed his video email tool called Bonjoro. And I've been using that for a year. He and I met at the Entrepalooza conference in Santa Barbara put on by Entreport. We met in the fall of 2018. And I've been using that tool ever since. And they use Intercom, and he had wonderful things to say about them. The little pop-up thingy you see on most websites, they have that type of technology as well as kind of a CRM component. And Matt was showing that in his demo over on the CRM Sushi podcast. So if you want to see how that works, go check that out as well. And that's more of a video demo, so you'll want to find it on thesaleswhisper.com. Just look up Bonjoro, and you'll see that episode. But speaking of deals, right, I have made a command decision. You've heard me talk about different pricing options on the 30-day sales growth program, and even though I keep adding to it, I kept looking back on, like, how did I get my start? What was the momentum for me, the catalyst that put me into a new realm, if you will, of professional selling? And it was this, it was a 12-week teleclass. It was $600 back in late 2005. I paid for it myself. My company wouldn't pay for it. And it changed my life. It changed my life as a salesperson. It changed my life as becoming a sales trainer and an entrepreneur, creating something that I could run on my own and provide for a family of 9. So this week, I'm recording this on a Wednesday, so I think I made the video on Sunday, updated the landing page on Monday, and the emails started going out last night and going out to today. The 30-day sales growth program is now $49.99 a month. I don't know how long I'll keep it that way, probably for a while, because to me it feels right. I've never liked the big avalanche closes, the value stacking, charge a ton and make you feel like you're getting locked in. Maybe that was fine a few years ago. I've enrolled in some of those. But it's like, I like teaching. If I know I've got a call every single week, oh, and it also includes live calls, so I'm bringing back the live calls. So every single week you can ask questions and engage. You can check in. You can just listen in. You get more out of it if you engage. But you can ask questions in the group, ask questions on the live calls. I'm still putting in a bunch of extra content. So I just keep adding to it. Okay, so come hang out. It's a month to month. It is not a subscription that locks you in, right? It's not an annual that you just pay monthly. It's just month to month with a 1-year guarantee. Okay, if you engage and take action for a year and you don't make your money back, I mean, multiples of your money, then tell me. Right? If you think it was a total waste of time, tell me. I'll give you your money back. But, it feels right to me. But like I was saying, it keeps me on my toes. I know I've got to prepare for the call each week. And the reality is I don't need the money. I would do it for free, but if I do it for free, you won't value it. If I do it for free, you won't show up. If I do it for free, you'll kind of listen, but you won't apply. And so, there's no catch, because the reality is, just like what I did, when I bought that 12-week class back in 2005, I ended up bringing that sales trainer into my company, right? Because my sales changed, my attitude changed, and my boss was like, what the hell's going on? I'm like, well, I met this dude. He's pretty good. So if I have hundreds of people tuning in and growing, you're probably going to refer someone. You're probably going to refer me in somewhere to do some training. Like last week, I was in Nashville, and I was paid tens of thousands of dollars to train. So, I have to have a lot of people at $49 a month to make that kind of money. So you're going to bring me in. You're going to refer me to deliver a keynote speech where I'm going to speak to hundreds or thousands of people. You're going to buy software from me or recommend somebody buy software from me. So it just, I'm not doing this just solely out of the goodness of my heart, right? But there's no $50,000 mastermind to upsell you and trick you into or whatever. It's none of that. So it's just affordable, effective training. Come hang out with some like-minded people, professional salespeople, sales managers, entrepreneurs, business owners that are looking to grow, okay, and do it affordably. I've just been in too many of those high-end programs, and honestly, I just pretty much never got my money out of it, at least not directly. I've always met good people, and, those have paid off. But it's not like I joined some $25,000 mastermind and, within 6 months I'm making $1 million. It's just, I never saw any of that. So I think the age of the all-knowing guru is over, at least for smart people. So stop chasing that. Okay, do the work. Put your time in on the mat, like we say in jiu-jitsu. Put your time in. There's no failure. You win or you learn. Okay, and through that, either way, you grow. And then you'll grow some more. You'll earn some more. It's all good. So come join us, all right? 30daysalesgrowth.com, $49.99 a month. Our first meeting is Thursday, August 29th. And then it'll be every Thursday from there on. So come join us, 30daysalesgrowth.com. And now let's bring on Rob and Kennedy.
Rob and Kennedy, against my better judgment, all the way from the UK. Welcome to the Sales Podcast. Do not make me regret this decision.
You already do. You already do. Thanks for having us, man. It's good to see you.
How did y'all reach out and turn my camera on and hit record? I don't, man, you got to teach me your ways. Teach me your powerful ways, gentlemen.
We will as we get through this, I think.
So we ran across each other online on the interwebs. Y'all have a very cool tool that you've helped me build out. And it's actually on my calendar today to cut over to it. So bear with me. I'm not as smart or savvy or sophisticated as my British counterparts are. So, but Response Suite, very cool. But y'all have an interesting story. Let's delve into that a little bit, shall we? How did y'all end up being partners and doing this whole internet marketing, software as a service sort of thing?
Yeah.
So it's a really bizarre story. Our background's actually in the entertainment world. So
Razzle dazzle.
I'm a comedy stage hypnotist.
Uses comedy very lightly.
Yeah, I've been doing it for about 16, 17 years, something like that, traveling all over the UK and across the world, performing a comedy hypnosis show for universities and events and theaters and that sort of thing. So that's kind of that. And my background's in magic. I did magic growing up, and then went to a magic convention one day, and we met at the bar where a long time ago, like 15 years ago, something like that. And you're a mind reader.
Yes, I'm a mind reader, which means in the US, you call what I do a mentalist. So I combine psychology and influence skills, and I perform mainly at sort of corporate events after dinner, at that kind of meetings and stuff like that. But one of the things when you're an entertainer, whether you're doing theaters like Rob does or you're doing events like I am, is you have a lot of spare time. You have a lot of time where you're either waiting to go on stage, you're in the hotel or whatever, or you're traveling, or you're in the departure lounge, or whatever it's going to be. And basically, for me, I've got a very short attention span, so I needed something else to do. And so I got interested in marketing because I was already quite good at it in terms of getting my own gigs. And so when other entertainers started noticing that I was good at getting gigs, they started asking me and saying, hey, how are you getting all these gigs? And it wasn't before very long when I sort of started a coaching program, an online coaching program.
Quite by accident.
I mean, totally by accident. And then I scaled that into a membership program, which I still run to this day, helping other entertainers to book gigs using marketing and sales techniques. And it turns out Rob moved to Greece, one of those Greek islands, and you were entertaining lovely tourists and making them do ridiculous things. But you also started teaching people how to use hypnosis skills in order to overcome their life's sort of barriers and stuff. We basically ended up by accident, independently, having online businesses. But what's really interesting, even though we've been really good friends since we met at that magic convention, is we never told each other about these passive income methods we were running.
We're like closet entrepreneurs.
Or closetpreneurs.
And so, so that eventually took us on a journey of discovering email marketing and the abilities that we have to sell stuff through email. And that eventually led to a software business of all things. And now we still do all three of those things. We still travel around and perform for a bunch of the year. We still both have online businesses of our own. And then together we combine to create Response Suite.
Very cool. So do y'all have a show together, or do you still perform?
No, we've done one show together ever.
Yes, do you remember that?
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
And that scarred you for life?
Yeah. We said it, and what it is, it worked really, really well. But it's one of those things like
we perform at very different events and very different venues.
Very different types of things. I'm high class.
Nice.
Mine's just smut.
Yes.
That's why. Yeah, exactly. That's why Kennedy's closer to the camera. So it's. It's also because the pop filter on the microphone hides more of his face. So Rob, thank you for setting that up. So what I love about this, though, is that you did not just sit idly by. I mean, most people would binge on Facebook or porn or Netflix or whatever. All the above simultaneously. I mean, I don't know. There's multi-talented people out there. But I mean, you looked into ways to improve, and it's interesting that it was marketing, right, that made the difference by understanding the importance of that, rather than just sitting back and passively like taking the crumbs, right? Like, well, I just get whatever gigs like everybody else gets, and everybody gets their little small piece of the pie, and you're like, oh hell no, I'm gonna go get more of this and be intentional about growing my business. And so I love that part of the story. And I had Jason Sheff on years ago. He was the lead singer of the band Chicago, and I met him at an Infusionsoft conference. Right, he bought my book. I'm like, why are you buying my book? Why are you even here, dude? You know? And he's created his own thing, teaching
Take
people,
your top off.
teaching musicians, right? And now he left Chicago just to pursue his own thing. So but I love hearing as well that you're still doing, both of you are still doing, your original passion. This hasn't taken away from it, right? Just has augmented. How has this like provided stability in your lives?
It hasn't.
It's actually done the opposite.
Yeah. I mean, what's really interesting is we were sort of chugging along, just like, go to a show, straighten up your tie and off you go and do the show. Lovely stuff. But actually what we've got now is Rob and I, neither of us have ever had a job before, right? So we've never had a pay slip. We've never been to an interview. We've never done any of that stuff. So we're really using the fact that we've never been employed and we've never been employers as our advantage to run our business and grow a business the way we believe it should be grown, which is by inspiring people and getting them on board rather than being like a dictator or saying, look, playing the boss card. Like we rarely, I think I can only think once in the past 2.5 years that we've ever played the boss card ever. And it was just because someone had to make a decision. And all of this is really fueled because what we're obsessed with in being a hypnotist, being a mentalist, doing email marketing and running a software business, we're obsessed with understanding how people think, what their motivators are, and using those things to not just our advantage, but our way as a way of really keenly tuning into them and helping them.
And we get to use those things to their advantage as well, because by selling people the right stuff, they have a better time, they get to solve their problems. And it's a bit like back in the day when you were on our podcast, Three Marketers Walk Into a Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It was all about asking the right questions, asking more questions, finding out more about them. And of course, that's why we created Response Suite, so we can ask the right questions to find out the things we need to know. Yeah.
So I hate being contradicted. So we're going back to this question. I asked, how does this add stability? And you said it did not. Come on, man. You have multiple streams of income now. You're telling me this has only made your life worse?
It's made our life complicated. Wow, we're like a bloody married couple now. We're jacking it all in.
Yeah, our periods will be in sync before you know it. Yeah, I think it has, for example, back in the day, all I had to worry about was going on stage, remembering my lines, remembering what I have to say, remembering how to hypnotize people, come off stage, get a round of applause. But now I'm sitting in the dressing room and I'm getting ready to go on stage, and suddenly a Slack notification pops through from Grace on our team, who says, just to let you know, we got that call with this affiliate tomorrow. And suddenly we now have so many things to focus on. But actually that's given us a lot of, I think it's easy when you do one thing solidly for a really long time, it's easy to become complacent and kind of chill.
Right.
And now, because our head is in so many different games, we now have to think about
You're
all the
wearing
things
a different hat all the time. Like one minute you're like the performer, the next minute you're the person doing the business of. I mean, we both have virtual assistants for each of our businesses. They're all run very, very separately. So like the admin and stuff is all taken care of. So we can focus on just doing the thing that we're really good at, which is the understanding of the people and the delivering and the performing and doing this bit. So that's really key for us, I think, isn't that? That's what we're really, really good at. We're obsessed with systems, basically.
Yeah.
All right, so maybe stable's the wrong word, but it's kind of like when you decide to clean out your garage or your attic, right? And redecorate a room. It gets messier, maybe it gets more chaotic, less stable, but the path, the vision is, I'm not done yet, right? This is going to be glorious when I'm done, but I've got to take everything out, cover everything, start painting, make a mess. So is that kind of where you see yourself?
Yeah, and it was what has worked really well is that our entertainment businesses and our online businesses have worked so well that we've been in a position to, because we totally bootstrap Response Suite. We took no investment. It's sort of part of our philosophy that we don't want to take investment ever. So it's a totally bootstrap company. And that we were lucky enough to be able to do that, and run and support it based on our other businesses. Right. And so that means that when we started this, our vision for what our lives looked like was totally different. Suddenly we've got an office with staff in it, and neither of us ever particularly wanted to employ people in the past full time. So suddenly we now have to learn all those things. So what it has done is it's triggered a really interesting journey for us.
Right. Well, and those that are just listening, I encourage them to watch the video. They can see how the people are fanning you and feeding you grapes in between conversations. It's really, really inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm looking forward to reaching your level. So how did you end up creating a survey quiz sort of software? I mean, both of you are entertainers, magicians, mentalists, hypnotists. I mean, why not create just a coaching program, right? And just help a bunch of entertainers learn how to get more gigs. I mean,
and it was born out of that, Wes, man. I mean, it was a case of you've got somebody coming into your product, like all of us right now. We've got people buying our product, and we know deep down, even those of us who are not doing it yet, we should be getting feedback from the people who are buying our products, because we can use that in interesting ways. We can use that to make sure we're doing a good job and there weren't any problems. We can use it to collect testimonials. But Rob and I both realized actually there's something else that we could be doing. So this was all, what's interesting is we didn't wake up one day. Neither of us are, I'm sure Rob will agree, smart enough to have thought one day, oh, there's a really good market opportunity. Let's start a software business. That's really not what happened. We created this because we needed a tool that did something. And I'll tell you what that was in a second. This tool did not exist in the way that we needed to do. There was people sort of claiming they did something similar. Then we bought free trials, or we paid fortunes in money and invested in these things that didn't really work. And that was this. Traditionally, you go somewhere, you purchase something, and if they're a good company, if they're decent, they care about their customers, and they care about the longevity of the relationship that you have with them as a salesperson, they will send you a survey afterwards to say, hey, what did you think of that thing? So let's just keep it really simple. Let's imagine you work for like a graphic design, sort of design kind of company. And within that, there's a whole bunch of things they can do. Let's just say I've been in this graphic design company because what I really wanted was, hi, Mr. Graphic Designer, I really need a new brand. Okay, so I go with them, I have all the meetings, they come up with this amazing new brand, and I'm so over the moon with it. They sign it off, they send me all the information, my brand guidelines, all that stuff, and I'm in love with it. I think it's gorgeous, I think it's fabulous. They send me a survey which says, hey, what did you think of that process? What did you think of the brand and the service we gave you? And generally, the way a survey looks is this. It's the way you've seen them forever. And we're going to share with you today some practical ways you can go and change this and turn surveys, rather than into a retrospective sort of pat on the back, into a really leverageable sales tool that allows you to cross-sell and upsell without having to be pushy whatsoever, and also do this all automatically. And I know it sounds like crazy, but and the amazing thing about this is it's really simple. Like, it's not difficult. So traditionally, I would receive that survey and it would say, what did you think? And I would say, out of 10, I thought it was like a 9 out of 10. Like, there's always a bit of room for improvement. 9 out of 10, it was pretty good. Hit submit, and they might go, oh, you thought it was 9 out of 10, give us a testimonial. And I might write, this was a really good experience. Wes was absolutely fantastic, and what a handsome devil he is. Hit return, lovely. That's it. So what's happened now? At the end of the quarter, at the end of the halfway through the year, or maybe the full year, I can look, as if I'm the person who works in that design company, I can look back at that data and make a retrospective judgment, which is, we are quite good, right? Mostly. But what I can't do is go, oh, one person didn't think it was very good. I can't go, oh, that was Rob. We should probably reach out to him and find out what we can fix. And more importantly, we've got a whole bunch of raving fans, people who absolutely worship our socks off, and we haven't tried to sell them more stuff. We haven't tried to nurture that relationship going forward and be like, hats off to you. Let's talk about more work you need to do. So what can you do instead?
So instead, what we realized is that survey should become the fulcrum. That's our favorite word in the office.
Fulcrum.
The fulcrum that links the last sale to the next sale. So there's this sort of myth, or it's not really a myth, it's just an assumption that feedback surveys are to get feedback on the thing you did. And that's why sometimes you'll see a survey. I mean, you were very kind there and gave them the very short version. Sometimes you'll see a feedback survey that's 29 pages long, 15 questions to a page, to ask everything. What did you think of the venue? What did you think of the food? What did you think of the entertainment? What did you think of this? What do you think of that? And stuff that just doesn't really matter. And long, open-ended questions. So one of the things we realized is actually feedback surveys should ask not just for feedback on how you did, but also for feedback on like where they're at now and what else they need help with. I mean, for example, if you've just, paid us to do a lovely website for you, if that's what we did, we build a lovely website, off you go. We say, great, what did you think of it? And you say 9 out of 10. I don't particularly need to know where we fell down by 1 point. No. I don't need to know which bit of the service it was you didn't like. Now, if you said 1 out of 10, now I want to dig deeper. But that happens, unless you're a terrible company, that doesn't happen very often. So assuming you're a great company and you generally deliver a great service, everyone drops the ball occasionally, but let's assume that you sell a great service and you do really well. Most people are going to rate you 8, 9, 7, 10, something like that. Not in that order.
8, 9, 7, 10. 8, 9, 7, 10. Who do we appreciate?
So what happens now is you don't really need to dig into too much detail about the little niggly bits about what was wrong. They generally liked you and they generally would recommend you to somebody else. That's great. So now every other question in the survey should be about who are you? What do you want? How can we serve you better? What else do you need? Which of our other services do you, or more importantly, don't you want? For example, we had an IT company came into our office and fitted a lovely network, private network within our office. Great stuff. They went away. And apart from the invoice for that service, I've never received another email from them. They've never tried to promote anything. And if they did try and promote something, all they could do is say, oh, we got a special offer on antivirus this week. Let's send them an antivirus email or telephony. The problem is we can't do anything about telephony here in our office because our office provide it. We can't replace our phones or any of that stuff because it's provided by the office. So the problem is they would just be sort of blanket marketing at us, hoping that some of the stuff they're going to tell us about works.
So
with no idea about what's good and what's not.
Exactly. So what you can do instead is that first question should be feedback to make sure that they realize it's a survey and that's what's happening and you are collecting feedback. So if they rate you 7 or more, 7, 8, 9 or 10, which is the way that I'm going to go for the numbers.
That's the traditional order.
That's the traditional way, right? What you then do is the next question they see is, that's awesome. Which of the following things is a current challenge to you? Or which of the following things do you really need some help with or could you use some help with? And now you list between 3 and 6 different things that you help people with. Don't make it open-ended question, because if I said to you right now, hey, what do you need help with? You might say, oh, the cleaner just left and we need a new cleaner. I can't help you with that. So if I said to you, what do you need help with? This, do you need help with thing A, B, C, or D? And you click things C, the next thing I can do is I can push the fact that it's you and I can tag you in my email marketing system or my CRM to say, hey, Wes really needs help with thing C. Why don't we put him into an automated campaign, or why don't we call him, or why don't we show him ads that will help him with using the product that you have that solves problem C. And similarly, all the people who said they had a problem with problem A, you show them those ads. So that's how we can suddenly turn these surveys from just being retrospective judgment tools into sales tools that allow us now to cross-sell and upsell.
Is this easier, or I'm sure it's easier, is it more effective to do this via email and electronically than have a human like call? Or, if I'm the IT company, do I sit down with you afterwards? Hey, Rob Kennedy, I have my clipboard, would you mind answering these questions?
Yeah, so we definitely prefer to do it by email. It allows them to do it sort of within their own time frame. And also, I think at the moment we hear anybody on the phone say, would you mind just taking a few minutes to take this quick customer feedback survey? Everybody gets groans and thinks, oh no. In the email, you have the chance to really word it quite casually. So we've just thrown together this quick survey. It's like 3 questions. It's all multiple choice. It'll take you less than a minute. And those are like the magic words that make completion really high. Because of course, the first terrifying, daunting thing when somebody hears the word survey is, oh my God, this is going to take me forever.
Right.
And then, so we prefer to do it by email electronically.
It means that, as Rob said, it means they can do it in their own time, at their own schedule, because everyone's busy and the last thing they really want to do is fill out a survey. And secondly, it means they'll feel like they can be a bit more honest.
Right.
Obviously, and that means in 2 directions. We often think about honesty as, it means they can be more harsh on us and be like, but truthfully, people are more expressive when we're not in front of them because they don't feel like so inhibited, I suppose. So that's a really powerful thing to do if you do it by email. Also, by doing it by email, for you as the person sending the survey, it means that you can set up your survey once, put it into your campaign, so that X number of days, we recommend 5 to 7 days, after the person's received the service or purchase the product, they automatically receive that survey. So you don't have to do anything. People think with these surveys that, it's a lot of work to set it up. Actually, in under 1 hour, probably much less than an hour, half an hour or so, they should be able to set up a survey. It should only be 3 questions. The person, then you can drop that into your follow-up campaign after someone has completed a purchase or something significant like that. And then it's there, evergreen, working for you all the time. You don't need to get involved in it, because as soon as so think about it. Someone purchases your product. That happened either because of the sales process you put them through, which is involving your time, or an automated sales process, whatever that might be for you and your business model. Then they purchase it. They put their information in, their credit card information. They buy that thing. So let's say it's an online program. They're consuming the program. That was delivered to them automatically. You didn't do anything now. So delivering the product didn't take you any time. X number of days later, you're out selling the next one. You're making the next sale. You're doing that next partnership, or however the heck you generate your leads and sales. And yet your system is sending an email out saying, hey, can I have this feedback through this survey? And the survey, because it links to your CRM, is automatically turning that single-time customer into a repeat customer and ascending them up that value ladder in terms of their lifetime value, all without you having to be there. So you can go and do the bits that you need to be doing rather than doing the bits that actually can be done by appearing to be customer experience or customer service. And that can be done really much more hands-off, which means it's much more scalable.
Right. So how did two guys that are entertainers create something like this? Because I know there's a lot of my listeners. There's a lot of my listeners, right? We all go through this. I'm looking at developing some things. You know, what's the first step that y'all took to? I mean,
the very first step is to realize what you don't know. And be just dead honest about it. Don't try. I mean, we did all the things that I think most people think about doing, which is we thought, can we go and get this developed for a couple of grand out in some really cheap labor country, and then we'll have it, and then we can just sell it, and everything will be groovy. But the truth is, it doesn't work like that. And we realized that Rob and I are not technical whatsoever. I don't know my forward slash from my backslash.
I don't even like tennis.
And we don't know that.
Mute his microphone. This is like hockey. That's a 3-minute penalty.
Like, we don't know anything technical. So what we did for our first hire of our technical, we first of all realized we wanted the technical person to be in-house, in this very room that we're talking to you from now. And the reason for that is we want them to get so obsessed with the product that they're going to make really good product decisions. Because if we're going to sell something, we want to make sure it is extremely reliable, extremely user-friendly, because we know what we're talking about doing here, allowing you to create a survey that hooks up with your CRM, which pushes people's information into your CRM and also tags them based on every single choice. Not only that, can you imagine we're sitting down talking about this remotely, saying, but also could you please make it so that when they, depending on what they choose in the survey, you're going to take them to a different thank you page to present the perfect offer, and we're going to integrate it with Facebook pixels, and it's never going to stop because technology is going to evolve. If you haven't got somebody who's on site, who gets it, and who's really in the blood of it, then that's not going to happen in an efficient way, because all those things are very complex. And we wanted to make Response Suite so that we can do really complex things, but you could do them for our customers where they can build it themselves if you have the ability to use something as simple as Canva. If you can like literally drag stuff around, you can do all of those things, which are really technical. So the problem with that when you're hiring a developer is if you want to make it, if you want to take complex things and make them simple for customers, it means your developer has to do all of the work for them and create processes which are drag and drop simple, which means the software has to do the heavy lifting. And doing that with a remote worker, very, very challenging.
Yeah, because when you're doing it with a remote worker, I mean, I just know that you have to acquire an extra skill. So the extra skill is not only managing people, but you have to learn how to remotely describe what you want efficiently and effectively. Like we have conversations where we think something's going to be quite simple, and we'll take it to Colin here in our office, for example, and we'll describe it. And then he'll say, but what about this? And how will this happen? And fire back loads of stuff, which is really helpful because we would never have thought of it. It's stuff that, oh, but that will affect that, and this will affect that, and don't forget that. And what about these people? Because he thinks like a developer, thinks like an engineer that we just don't do.
He connects lots of dots that we couldn't.
But when did you bring on this person? Did you first get the code, the like version, the alpha or the beta version done overseas, then hired someone?
100% of everything was written by this one guy in this room. So we hired him from the beginning. We put a budget to one side and said, we're willing to go at this point. We need to get a minimum viable product, an MVP, to the market. We did a beta launch, which was basically the idea was that we got a load of people to come in and use it early on, give us feedback. And the feedback was usually in the form of support tickets of like, where's this? Why can't I do that? And that's when you learn what you need to develop and what you need to improve.
And actually that changed our entire next quarter of development.
Yes.
Like we literally said, okay, great. We've been going at this for 6 months, and now we've got the next 90 days to plan. And what they wanted was totally not what we expected. So we did a big pivot and said, actually, let's change it and do all of these things. But I mean, like when we started out, we literally had conversations with people we interviewed. So we used a recruitment firm locally to help us find Colin. And as we started those interviews, we had some people would come in and say, oh, this should definitely be built in PHP because, and then we had other people who came in and said, no, that's PHP is the wrong programming language for this. It should be built in .NET, right? And we were like,
what are those things?
Like, we don't even know. And they both presented what sounded like perfectly logical arguments, facts about each of the languages, and said, but with this, you can't do that. And with that, you can't do the other. So that's how behind we were. But we just thought, we don't know what we don't know. We have to just go and find out.
Yeah. So we found an expert to be that middle person, which was a recruitment company in our case. So we spent quite a few grand on just that process of getting them to ask all the questions, because they're a specialist recruitment company who work on tech and digital people. So they found that person. And then we interviewed only 4. Did we speak to 4?
5, maybe?
Was it 5
yeah.
People? And then we chose the one who we felt was the best cultural fit for working with Rob and I. Because bear in mind, Rob and I have been friends for a long time, which means we're not often work appropriate in our sort of behavior, if that makes sense. Like, we're kind of crazy. So we had to find somebody who would be kind of okay with that. So yeah, that's how it all began. So it was all developed. Yeah. None of it overseas. All
Let me
in
see
here.
if I understand this. So you two you have your main gig. You're also got a little side hustle going on, doing some coaching, doing some mentoring. You meet, you say, okay, this is lacking. And so without even selling this product, I mean, to hire someone to get into an office, 6 months of development, I mean, this is easily $50,000, $70,000. I mean, you can spend a lot of money on this. How did you have that trust with one another, the confidence to even jump into this? Because, I mean, this is no small thing that y'all did.
No, totally.
No, the bill racked up to be about $200,000.
Oh my
when
gosh.
we got there, with everything taken into account. So we had, truthfully, we're
crazy.
We're lunatics. We made the money and decided in our existing businesses, and we knew we were going to do something with it. And we were torn between like investing in something, which is another thing that neither of us know anything about. And so because we know a bit about business, and we
also know about marketing,
and we knew nothing about investing it in something, we figured, well, it's not doing anything in the bank, so we might as well put it into something that we do know about and we have some control over. So whereas putting it in investments, we'd be relying on advice from other people, we'd be relying on a bunch of other stuff. The safest bet for us was actually to put it into the only thing we know how to do, which is to market stuff.
Yeah. And the thing as well is, remember, like, surveys are not new. What we are doing is obviously reinventing and completely reigniting the way that people use surveys. So we know that fundamentally sitting under this very clever stuff, which is revolutionizing the way that people communicate and resell and upsell and do email marketing, sitting underneath that is a proven concept. So we knew that all we then needed to do is, while that's being developed, is we needed to focus on figuring out the message, because we know there are some terrible products out there which are selling really well because they've got a really good message. If we create an amazing product that once we get the right message, people buy and they love and become massive advocates and huge fans of it, then it's going to have to work. So we just said, you know what it is? Let's just be crazy and let's just do this. And we did speak to a couple of people. I mean, talking to people and saying, hey, you think this is a good idea is not the number one way to run a business and to blow 200 grand.
What we had done was we had spent about 4 years doing this manually. So for about,
it's true.
We can't get the full effect of what we can do now with Response Suite, but we were using the concepts of it manually by every day running surveys permanently in our business, downloading with a different platform, downloading CSV files out of the platform, segmenting them into different spreadsheets, and then re-uploading them. It was a virtual assistant that did it, but re-uploading them into Infusionsoft in our case. And so we were individually in our businesses proving the concept to ourselves over and over and over again every day. And eventually it got to the point where we thought other people must need to do this. Other people will love this idea and the results that it gets. So it just made sense to turn it into something.
Right. Why not create like an entertainment agency, right? And have a pool of magicians and mentalists under you, and you leverage your marketing to get them booked, and now you're a broker and you get an override on something that you know.
Well, if we've got half an hour one day, we might do that.
Truthfully, I mean, in the UK, that market is completely dead. The entertainment agency market is dead because people can now just go on Google and find all the entertainers they want to find. They don't have to
It
go
still
to an agent
works in the
anymore.
US, but it's just a very different thing out here.
Yeah, it doesn't really work.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. People have said to me for years, "Oh, you know, Rob, you should start a software business. You should create." Well, they didn't say that. They said you should create and sell software. And I always said to them, when I have the right idea, I'll do it. And it took me ages to realize it was sat right under our noses with this thing we were doing all the time anyway.
Right.
So I've always been keen on the idea of creating a piece of software to sell because I think it would be great. But I didn't want to do it for the sake of it. I wanted to make sure we had something that was
And I think
born
the
out of
other
need.
thing now as well is we are so passionate about cleaning up the way that people do email marketing. Like, all of us receive far too much irrelevant, completely uninteresting, bland, boring email. And if we instead run our subscribers through a survey which asks them actually, what is it you need help with right now, and then segment them in our marketing platforms and only send them those kinds of communication, then which would solve their problems, then people are going to start receiving more relevant email. And if we can help people to do that, then that's a good thing as well. I think for me, and I don't think we've ever talked about this before, but for me, Response Suite is the first time really about building something that's bigger than myself.
Right.
Because my entertainment business brand is me. It's me on stage being funny, reading minds. Great. My coaching business and my membership program is me helping entertainers to do that thing. I wanted something that is bigger than me. We're both really passionate about shopping local. Rather than supporting like the big chains, the fact we can create employment opportunities as well. So all of that is really sits really, really well with our ethics and the way that we like to build stuff.
It also sort of feels like going into a world that we already know quite well, like entertainment again or something like that, would almost be a bit, not a cop out exactly, but it just feels like it wouldn't be the same level of challenge and journey that we get to go on. Like the stuff that we've learned and the skills we've developed over the last couple of years are so interesting. Like our ability to manage a team of an in-house team, all of a sudden we're now got to be good at that bit, and then learning how to account for something when it's more than just you and a couple of outsourced workers. That's a very different thing. And all of this stuff. So like we learn about employment
growth,
law,
isn't it really?
Yeah.
And we are driven by growth. I mean, our whole thing is like grow, learn. Yeah.
And so I guess that brings us back to the talking about stability, right? And so you created instability, you create a little bit of chaos, right, in the beginning, but because on the other hand, I mean, being a solopreneur where everything is dependent on your ability to get up and do the thing, you can't get sick, you can't have an accident, you know, in the long run, that is unstable. Right. Whereas this, if you can make this work like y'all have, it creates more stability, you know, but you got to be willing to endure.
So you take that short-term chaos, as you said, perfectly there, and you trade that for the long-term stability of, you know, at some point, what happens if like hypnotism becomes illegal?
Right.
Yeah, like it has in some countries.
Suddenly I've got nothing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
you know, the government never makes any radical changes to laws. What do you
but like what, you know, but like you say, it's whether it all sits on your shoulders or not. And by empowering teams of people and fantastic people, you get to see people grow, you get to create that stability where, like, I wasn't here for the last 3 days because I was away doing shows. Response Suite was fine. Customers get help, they get assistance with fixing their funnels, they get great survey results, they get the segment list, they get all the results, everything is fine. More customers come in, leads are generated. It's like almost like, do you even need me anymore? Yes, of course it does, but at this point, but like it's everything ticks over just beautifully.
All right, I've got about 15 minutes, and now we're going to get deep.
Uh-oh.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So, you know, I always talk with people. I tell them, look, life is a stage, right? Selling is a stage. We are performers when we're selling, like it or not. You know, again, I get into talks with people about the importance of a script in meeting people, in cold calling, whatever. Oh, I don't like a script. I feel too bound up.
I'm restrained and restricted. Yeah.
There you go. Restrained and restricted, bound up. I can't be myself. As professional entertainers, how important is a script just in let's just stick to your entertaining world for a moment, then we'll bring it into business.
Okay.
How much of your presentation, 3 days on the road, did you do the exact same thing for 3 days?
Okay. So, funnily enough, I was speaking to the client last night. So this is for the same client, 3 days in a row. And they came to me afterwards and they'd seen me 3 times and they said, I cannot believe it. Because of my style of my show, it looks like I just go off on a tangent. Like, I don't know how you would describe my style. But
yeah, sort of a bit, not chaotic, but sort of, back and forth.
A bit like crazy. And it is 100% a script. 100% a script. There are moments in the script. It's like you've got to have a path which you can deviate from so you can get on the path to where you're going.
So there's going to be some slight differences. Like a guy gets up and you make a joke about his shirt. But if it's a different shirt and the joke doesn't work, it's a different joke. Like jokes have to be made up on the spot.
Right.
But things like the actual beginning, how you get into it and how you get out of it, that's always the same. Everything between those things is the same, but with the flexibility to just make a slight.
Yeah, I mean, watch Rob's show, like a hypnotist. Like you could go and see Rob's show night after night after night and not realize it's scripted because the way people respond to the suggestions he gives them, the crazy things he makes them do as a hypnotist, are different. They react differently, but when Rob walks on the stage, he walks on in the same way with the same foot going forward every single time. He'll stop at the same point and then say the same line. Then he'll turn and then he'll say the same line again. He will close he will move from that routine to the next routine with the same bit. Why? Because it means that all of the other pieces of Rob's show, all the other pieces of my show, all the other pieces of your sales process and the people who back you up can respond appropriately. So Rob knows that the third routine along is the music routine. So the lighting guy in the theater can turn the right lights on or play the right music. And it's the same for us as salespeople. If we are on that script and we get deviated from it, we get pulled back to it, but we know how to respond. If we're going along a process which has, let's say you've got I'm going to pick a random number, 7-step sales process. Let's say that's what you've got, right? You know that at certain points, if the process stops, well, guess what? You've got a CRM which comes in at that point and continues and picks up the process to reignite and reinsert the person in that process at that point. If you're not on a track, then what the hell are we doing? Like, when would Rob know when to walk off stage? When would he know when to finish that routine? How would any of us know what that next step was? And the great thing about having a script is a script gives you confidence, because with a script, you can make changes. So in the first 25 performances of a new show, when we work on Rob's new shows, I'm sitting at the back or in the wings, depending, and I'm making notes. That bit there wasn't funny because you stood like this. Or that bit was way funnier than it should have been because you stood like this. Do it like that again. If there wasn't a script, how can he possibly improve on any of that?
You can't measure it because it's just different.
There's nothing to measure. Like, it's like if you run an ad, you can measure it because it's every time Facebook displays that ad, it shows it the same way. Whereas if every time it did it, it would go, this time I'm going to show it upside down. I think you wouldn't be able to measure it. You'd be like, we're showing the back of the ad today. I'm sorry.
I don't know what the back of an advert looks like.
So how, in entertainment and in business, how do you keep the interest for yourself if it's the same thing every time?
Emotional engagement?
Yeah, I think the other thing that the script gives you, and this brings me on to the answer for this question, is it gives you the ability to absolutely be present in the moment. So like when we're doing a show, because the words we're saying are coming out exactly the same way, they don't need thinking about, I don't need to think about, how do I structure this sentence correctly? Because it's just the thing we wrote months earlier.
Just interject, have you ever given a presentation and before you walk on, you're thinking, what should I say first? Should I say hi? Hello, good evening, no, good morning. Like if you're having that moment when you walk on, the audience can see you're not there for them. You're there for you because you're going, is it hi, good morning? I don't know. Whereas if you've got that script, you're going to say whatever that opening line is, and you're going to be able to connect with them and you can see you there.
Now, at that point, you now have the freedom to have a choice about what you're doing inside. So for example, I'm just reading off these words and I could do it with my eyes closed without thinking about it, which means that at that point I could be thinking whilst I'm doing this big elaborate script, I could be thinking, oh, I need to get some potatoes later on. I must go shopping. Don't forget the potatoes when you go shopping. Or you can make the choice to commit emotionally in the moment to connect with the people in front of you or the person in front of you, whether that's the prospect that you're selling to or whether that's the audience of people that you're talking to. It gives you the ability to make eye contact. It gives you the ability to, like we said, emotionally connect with the people there and live in the moment and enjoy that experience genuinely for what it is. Whereas if you're not following a script and you're not going down that same route, it'll be easy to say, oh, but then it gets samey because you're just doing the same thing all the time. It's not true, because you allow yourself, if you aren't doing that, you have to be sort of the duck with her feet under the water going mad, don't you? You have to be thinking, oh no, he wasn't supposed to say that. And now I don't have a response to that because I've never thought about it before. It allows you
if you're making it all up, then you've got to make it all up.
Right. And you can't
there's no place for you to relax.
Yeah.
You can't relax at any point because there's nothing there for you to relax into. Take a quick example of something that happened to me about 5 weeks ago. I'm about to walk on stage to do my show, and I'm going to talk about that woman, right? So I'm about to walk on. The person who introduces me. It's for like a group of private schools, this event. And I said, so the woman said, please welcome that mind reader guy, Kennedy. And then I walk on, the music plays. And before I even get to the stage, like my first foot is on the stage, and this lady about 3 tables back, as the music just comes down, I didn't even say hello. I hadn't even turned to face the audience yet. All I heard from the back was, pick me! From the back. And I'm like, if I didn't, my script, my first line is always the same. Good evening, according to the research that I've been doing on you. And then I go into my first bit, right? That's what I say every single time. But because I know I've got security in that, I don't have to think about my opening line. It's good to say that every single time. I didn't do that. I just turned and I leaned on the lectern, I leaned on the lectern and I went, hello. So it got a massive laugh and I said, what's your name? And she said Susan. And I said, hello, Susan. Which company are you embarrassing tonight? And then, so because I wasn't busy, if I'd been thinking as I walk on stage, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? What am I going to say? I probably wouldn't have even heard Susan. And if I had, I'd be like, oh no, now I don't know what to say because I was thinking about will I say hello or not. Oh no, now Susan's, because I was like, oh, I was going to say that thing. I was definitely going to say that thing, but now Susan's going to say.
It also means the minute you're finished with that problem. So let's imagine you're selling something or you're performing and somebody heckles you or somebody throws something like an objection at you or something like that. It gives you an immediate pivot point. The moment it gives you the mental clarity to deal with it, either by overcoming the objection or making a hilarious joke. And then now what you get to do is you get to pivot straight back to where you were supposed to be the minute it's done and get straight back to where you were supposed to be. It gives you that ability to divert, but then quickly get back to the main road.
You can literally just straighten your pants out and just be like, you're straight back into that moment and you're not lost anymore.
Yeah. I think the main thing is it's like a surgeon, right? You want that surgeon to have a routine.
Yes, please.
Wash the scalpel.
Yeah, everything in place. All the scalpels, all the sponges, all the clamps, all the syringes, right? But because they care enough, that they have a calling, I would hope, and I think, right, to save lives, to improve the health of their patients. So they embrace the script, the process, because they care about the end goal. Right. So we as salespeople, as business owners, I guess when the fire leaves our belly and we just don't give a crap about the customer, we need to go find a new line of work, right? But otherwise, if we do love them and we want them to benefit from what we do, we got to have a process that we stick to.
Or the other thing you could do is rather than changing the new line, you could go to a new line of work, you could change the script.
But if you have a working script, why change it?
But if you're bored of it, it's no longer being effective because you've now lost the passion for it. So, for example, I'll add new bits into my show. Rob adds new bits into his show because after a certain amount of time, you want to put fresh stuff in there. Well, you're like, you know what it is? My opening line for that bit, or the way that I dig for pain, has always been, now let me ask you a question. If you're like, oh God, I have to say, can I ask you a question one more time? Come up with a new way of saying it that is interesting to you. So you don't have to just abandon. You have to just find a new way to access it that's interesting to you. But more importantly, let's get out of our own heads for a second, because actually none of this is about us. If we can get through the words of our script and actually get into listening. So the way we ask the questions, or the way we dig for pain, or the way we go through the process might be the same. But the thing that changes every time is that person who's in front of you, that audience for us, that person who's in front of you who needs your help, changes every time. And if you can focus instead on, as Rob said at the very top of this, is if you can focus on that connection, that empathy, and that understanding with that person, then it's no longer boring. Because as long as you're an empathetic human being, then you're going to be absolutely fine. And if you know that your script that you have got allows you to have that greater connection and that greatest level of empathy, then it can serve you.
Right. Amen. So how do we serve our listeners? Where do we send them? What do you have?
What do we
Our
have?
wonderful listeners that we can.
Well, my tickets are on sale now. No. There's a couple of things. First of all, if you like listening to us and stuff, we have a podcast too. It's called Three Marketers Walk Into a Podcast.
We have some smashing guests.
Check that out. We have some smashing guests like your good self.
Yeah.
And so you'll really enjoy that. Alternatively, if you like what we've been talking about with surveys, and you want to run surveys, or you do run surveys and you want to do some smarter things with them, some different things with them, we'd love to have you check out Response Suite and see if you want to do it with us. The best thing to do, actually, we've got a really special deal for listeners of the podcast, and that is as follows. First of all, we'd love to give you 2 weeks to try it out completely for free. Now, admittedly, we do this for everybody, but we have a special extra bit just for you.
We do. So if you take a 14-day free trial of Response Suite, in that time, we want you to start not only setting it up, which should take you less than an hour to set it up, but then also to start seeing results in that time. There's two ways we want to help you get results, because obviously if you get really good results, we know you'll stay around, right? So the first way is we want to give you an onboarding call with either Rob or myself. I will work with you personally, not in a group, just one-to-one with you and I, and we'll help you set up your survey, figure out the right questions, the most effective questions to ask in order to do this upselling and cross-selling clever stuff with the surveys, and we'll help you set up the campaigns in your marketing software as well, because Rob and I are pretty familiar with those. So that's the first, but you don't have to take us up on that bit of it, but you are very, very welcome to, and we'll help you do that as quickly as possible.
The second bit is a 4-part video training course that we put together called the Survey Marketing Masterclass, where we teach 8 different campaigns that you can use to sell more stuff as a direct result of surveys. And you can pick and choose the ones that will work best and fit your business. Now, it's not even on sale right now. It used to be for $497. We took it off sale for a bit, but so you can't buy it, but we'll give it to you as part of your 14-day free trial. And of course, you can keep the course, and you can take well, you can't give them implementation call back, can you? You can keep all of that regardless of whether you decide to hang around and remain a Response Suite customer. But to get that, don't go to responsesuite.com and sign up there, because you won't get the extra bonuses. No. Instead, you need to go to thesaleswhisperer.com/RS. Just the letters R and S for Response Suite. thesaleswhisperer.com/RS.
Very nice. Well, I appreciate that, gentlemen. This was more than I expected. So I'm glad we carved out the time. And I am using your software. I did get the one-on-one set up with you, Rob. So I appreciate that. Thanks for coming on the show, man. It's been great.
Thanks for having us.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks, Fez, man.
All right. Y'all have a great evening.
After 6 years and 396 episodes, I still mess up the microphones from time to time. I had my computer microphone. Good grief. There's always something. So it just shows I'm human, just like all of you. Mistakes will happen, but keep moving forward. All right? That's what I hope you got out of this. Check out their platform. It really is cool. I've been using these types of quiz platforms for a long time, and it's easy to promote and drive traffic to it. You get a lot of information on those that complete it. It's a powerful tool. So make sure you check that out. Take advantage of their offer here for the show. It's easy to use. That's why I switched. The other one I had was powerful, but it's too hard to use. And if you want to talk about it, I can show you the pros and cons. If you need the power of the other platform I was using, I'm happy to discuss that with you, and I can get you a link and get you in touch with those founders. But it was just more than I needed. So I keep things simple. I don't have a big team, and so the important thing is having the tool that you're going to use. That makes it the right tool for you. Okay, and everybody's a little bit different in their situations. So if you are in the 30-day sales growth, you can ask these kind of questions, and I'll provide links and insights and screenshots, and I do live videos and just for the members. So come hang out. $49.99 a month. That's $49 month to month, no contract. Good grief. There's no other way I can do this at any other price. So come hang out. Otherwise, I would just give it away, and then you wouldn't do it. So come learn with us, all right? 30daysalesgrowth.com. Check out my sponsor, Intercom. Go see what they're up to as well. Capture leads that pop in on your website, the little chat, and maybe the right CRM for you. But if you want to see how I'm using Response Suite, go to bestcrmforme.com, and you'll see how that little quiz takes you through and spits out the answers at the end. And that's free as well, okay? But 30daysalesgrowth.com, come hang out with me, all right? You'll be glad you did. I'll go sell something.